19th October 2006 witnessed the establishment of a platform through the Agreement of Memorandum Jemaah Menteri, which states the need for a training and development platform for tertiary education leaders. The Ministry of Higher Education is entrusted to develop the platform as it is deemed fit for MOHE to nurture, train, need for a training and development platform for tertiary education leaders. The Ministry of Higher Education is entrusted to develop the platform as it is deemed fit for MOHE to nurture, train, and sustain the skills and competencies of the higher education institution leaders. With that said, AKEPT as an agency under the ministry was born. Known as Higher Education Leadership Academy, AKEPT, or in the full form of its Malay name, Academy Kepimpinan Pendidikan Tinggi, has been playing its role through its objective for almost 20 years. AKEPT aims to develop leadership talents and potential in higher education institutions, HEIs, to lead their institutions more effectively, especially to face the challenges of global higher education in the future. In addition, AKEPT believes the enhancement of leadership must be holistically addressed, not just among academics, but also to cater to administrators' professionalism and ensure competent leaders and administrators are produced. Leadership development is essential at all levels to nurture a reliable talent pool for the long-term sustainability of higher education excellence. Located in the educational hub of Banda Ensted Negeri Sembilan, AKEPT boasts over 30 acres of sprawling compound, which houses high-standard facilities comprising an administrative building, halls, auditorium, lecture rooms, 4-star accommodation, sports facilities, dining hall. These facilities have witnessed various impactful programs being held, with prominent figures present. AKEPT has conducted a countless number of international forums and upskilling programs for higher education institutions, including 20 public universities and TVET agencies and institutions. It holds a huge responsibility to provide training programs and add value to the current expertise amongst the board of directors, high and mid-level administration offices in higher education institutions. To ensure continuous enhancement of its programs, AKEPT has extended its role via strategic partnerships and collaborations with various institutions. With many more impactful programs in the pipeline, AKEPT will surely continue to deliver on its promise as the preferred expert center in higher education leadership development towards producing respected, competent, and excellent leaders for the betterment of higher education institutions and to fulfill the national agenda.
yang memberikan salam itu atau salam semua kepada
buka laluan dan jaringan tabir job.
Okay. So we have to ask ourselves.
Sebagai pejabat awam, jadi genap sebenarnya.
Ada pengerusi lah Tuan Yang Mulia Raja.
The Leaders in Action program.
I believe that the topic of entrepreneurial leadership development is very timely.
Oh, if I read and share with you.
ITS that I didn't complete my bachelor will not buy from you, especially youth, women, netizen.
Our third panelist. Specialized world leading skills and resources coming in from
Predicting and the control.
Scale up. Let's scale.
Everybody's on the camera. One.
Intipati dan strategi bersama dalam menyokong agenda tibet negara.
speaker dan panelis dari kementerian selaku perempuan dasar.
Sesi forum yang pertama. Jadi forum ini terdapat soal jawab dalam bahasa Malaysia.
Di semua sektor ekonomi negara ini
Mana masa kita Raja Tablahi. Okay, so berbalik pada soalan. Itu susah untuk kita menghabiskan energi.
Values in the university, okay? You gotta uphold that. And the leader, it is about value-based leadership.
It's very touchy. It's how you to develop the culture.
And there is investment in
Malaysia and the permanent representative of Malaysia.
I was thinking of value-based leadership, which is something
Really good one. My records.
And therefore, if you're a BBL leader,
Professor Dr. Wan Hana Malini, Wan Mota or Dr. Hana.
At the panel, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we will have a full flavor of ASEAN dialogue, and I think we believe that the university is a powerful anchor organization.
Being prepared is an indicator of the interest.
Strong evidence from the latest IPC AR6.
Any attempts to sort of validate to ensure
communication with them, there is constant.
The same topic that is mental 2007 and also outstanding.
Such thing as dasar kesihatan mental. No such thing as.
This one is very, very significant because if you have
we might as well close down the university.
IIM, yeah. And the organizer also provides the dynamic and progressive role of the Muslim Ummah.
and a very warm welcome to.
We have scored very well in leadership.
Resilience, computational and design.
To look at what we have to see,
Minimize has done. I think there's a classical example.
but we don't have to determine
Leading or teaching learning environments.
The sustainability of PTPTN.
to the participants out there.
Counseling and clinical psychology unit has been providing all
Spread over 150 hectares of land.
Of Talent Corporation Malaysia Berhad or not.
That the program that we are proposing.
work-life practices, which again has become a norm today.
Future leadership higher education leading beyond pandemic.
Hosted by the Higher Education Leadership Academy.
And its intersection with technology.
At this moment, we have a very strong tie between ASEAN.
And so, but getting that sense of it.
Their values, their traits is also something extremely important.
Compassionate leadership. If I were to extract from some references,
The program is about why we think that this is important for us to be around at least half of the institutions in Malaysia.
Karina, for that introduction, yes, I really ask her to review the
Generous and lead and help and encourage everyone.
Hatta Shari was taken to commemorate two national figures.
To help those students to be more self-resilient.
How do female leaders in higher education fight for equity and transform leadership?
We need to take that into consideration. Performance is also not even across all universities. We want to talk very briefly about the barriers.
I was engaged throughout the whole session and I've learned so much.
TVET principals and managers will have the skills.
TVET is a national agenda in Malaysia education system.
being with us today.
Passion
profession, occupation, involve design, implementation, assessment.
Custom as an industry strategize in the realizing the high performance feedback system in Malaysia.
I just wanted to show what we are doing in Germany.
But this event is meant for those non-performer in high school.
Groups all together, and in the for this, we hope that we will be getting some support.
Is what we propose, at this, and the mentors can provide tips for students.
Ability to have been experiencing inconvenience for their whole life.
Right, everybody gets. There's no voting. We don't need to vote.
About a vocab, about leadership, and about well-being.
By women. 3.7% of company CEOs.
What I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and what I need to do.
This could provide insights for recommendations.
Sekali lagi terima kasih. Dan kemerdekaan dan kenegaraan negara mesti dari segi relevance tempatan.
Kita ada Dr. Haji Muhammad Zahari bin Ismail.
Itu kalau kita lihat kadar komunitas pasaran kita adalah tinggi. Jadi selebihnya yang pelajaran secara online itu boleh teruskan secara online.
Tepatnya umur 20 tahun. Komponen utama dalam satu tamadun itu adalah apa? Manusianya.
Very good morning and good afternoon, everyone. All the panelists here. Hi, Prof. Karen. It's very nice to see you. Prof. Mustaf.
Hello, Dr. Yvonne. It's very good to meet you.
Yeah,
Hello.
hi. And we have here also Prof. Yong, who is going to be the MC of this session. We also have Mr. Azrul from AKEPT, whom UM is co-organizing with. Yeah. I'm just wondering whether Prof. Rocky Tuan is. All right. Just very quickly. So later we will have some video of our Vice Chancellor as well as Dr. Professor Nasruddin, the Director of AKEPT. Before we start our session. Hi, Prof. Rocky. Very nice.
Hi. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah. So just to give a very quick briefing.
Yes.
So we're going to have some videos first before we start our panel discussion. And the MC for today will be Prof. Yong. We have here with us as well Mr. Azrul from AKEPT. Now, so after the videos, we're going to have a group photo session, and then we'll move on to the forum. We will have 2 rounds of questions, and so we will go first to Professor Karen O'Brien, then Prof. Rocky Tuan, and finally Professor Mushtaq Al-Atabi. And for the first round, we will have 2 questions together to each of the panelists. And once we finish the first round, the second round will have the 3rd question for each one of you. And depending on the time, we will also have the 4th question, and that sets us back up to see whether there's much time left. At the same time, you will also be taking some questions from the participants. Yeah. So yeah. So that will just be very few. I think by the time we finish the 2 rounds, probably, yeah, we are almost time, but we do need to have some questions from the floor as well. Any questions before we start? Yeah, we'll start.
Can I just ask, is my background appearing the right way round or is it in reverse? It
yes,
is.
everyone is
Okay.
perfect. Yeah.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
Prof. Mushtaq, would you like to put on the visual background, or you prefer your background?
Well, I'm not very fond of putting backgrounds because it cuts my hair, you know. It's but anyway, I'll try to find the background that you sent me. I tend to merge with the background. I don't know why.
But you know,
you can
actually choose your hairstyle.
Well, or I can choose not to have a background, right?
No worries. Just make yourself comfortable. But it would be nice to have the backdrop as well. Yeah.
It's sent in the email, right?
Yes, it's in the email. Yeah.
Okay, let me see.
We will be starting shortly. We have about perhaps 2 minutes to starting time. Yeah.
It's hard to be someone who is good looking.
In the background is a real talent.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we will turn off our mic and video as well, except for Prof. Yong, who's be the MC for today. See you soon.
Let me orient this. So, whoops.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning and a good afternoon and evening, whichever part of the world you are from. A warm welcome to the University President Forum Webinar Series 3 with the theme Reimagining Internationalization in Higher Education in Post-COVID-19. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Yongzulina Zubairi, the Registrar of Universiti Malaya, and I have the pleasure of becoming your MC today. Thank you very much for spending time with us today in this webinar session. Ladies and gentlemen, we will start with the opening session with a welcoming remarks by the Professor Dr. Insinyur Muhammad Hamdi, our Vice Chancellor, followed by the opening remarks from Dr. Professor Dr. Nasruddin bin Muhammad, the Director of the Higher Education Leadership Academy, alias AKEPT. So over to you.
Greetings from Universiti Malaya. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the inaugural webinar global series hosted by the Higher Education Leadership Academy, AKEPT, Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, in collaboration with the Universiti Malaya, which comprises of 3 webinars on different topics and perspectives related to the current pandemic that has affected the world, and in particular higher education institutions. This is one of our initiatives to stay in touch and engage with our students, partners, and stakeholders in facing the new normal as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused a sudden shift in the higher education paradigm, forcing rapid changes that we have never witnessed before within such a short period of time. We will be kicking off this webinar series with a session on the theme Future Leadership Higher Education, Leading Beyond the Pandemic, with experts from leading universities and senior leaders sharing their insights on the future of leadership in the realm of higher education. In the second webinar series, 3 prominent women leaders will be sharing insights on their work fighting for an equal voice on the theme Empowerment of Women in Higher Education, the hand that rocks the cradle. Finally, our third webinar series will be featuring leaders sharing their views on the topic Reimagining Internationalization in Higher Education in the post-COVID-19 era. In particular, they will discuss about the way to move forward, focusing on student mobility. On behalf of the University of Malaya, I would like to thank the officers under the Associate Vice Chancellor Global Engagement Portfolio who have worked hard to make this webinar a success. My thanks also go to AKEPT for the support and to all the honorable speakers for their valuable time and contribution. I hope you will have a fruitful session and that you will continue to join us for the upcoming webinars in this series. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Professor Datuk Insinyur Dr. Muhammad Hamdi Abdul Syukur, Vice Chancellor, Universiti Malaya, the honorable speakers, Professor Rocky S. Tuan, Vice Chancellor, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, Professor Karen O'Brien, Vice Chancellor, Durham University, United Kingdom, Professor Mushtaq Al-Atabi, Provost and Chief Executive Officer, Harriet Ward, University Malaysia, the moderator, Professor Dr. Yvonne Lim, Associate Vice Chancellor, Global Engagement, UM, the MC, Professor Dr. Yong Zulina Zubairi, exercising the function of Registrar, University of Malaya. Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third series of the University President's Forum with the theme Reimagining the Internationalization in Higher Education Post-COVID-19, a collaborative effort between Higher Education Leadership Academy, AKEPT, and University Malaya. Thank you very much for investing your valuable time in attending this webinar, the finale of its series. First of all, on behalf of AKEPT, I would like to congratulate Professor Dr. Yong Zulina Zubairi, who is exercising the function of the Registrar of University of Malaya, and her team for gathering three esteemed speakers today to share their insights and thoughts on internationalization in higher education after the global outbreak of COVID-19. I believe this forum is a great discussion platform that will not only benefit the scholars or academicians, but also the community as a whole. As some of you may already know, AKEPT is known for its leading role as the Center of Excellence in providing leadership development programs for the higher education institution leaders. We have three centers that are geared toward ensuring that institutional leaders are equipped with the competencies really needed to lead institutions. The Center for Leadership Profiling looks into the ecosystem of talent management in higher education and focuses on the profiling process of the national top talent to look into their knowledge, skills, and abilities before appointing them to be the leader of the institution. The Center for Leadership Development focuses on providing courses and training to ensure that the profile leaders can enhance their skills and competencies to lead an institution. They provide onboarding programs for vice chancellors and top management of universities with academic leadership courses ranging from, among others, topics of human governance in leadership, international dean's courses, strategic leadership in higher education, and many more. The Center for Leadership Sustainability, or better known as CLS, focuses on general topics that are not touched by the two other centers and also provides a platform for leaders in ASEAN for the purpose via all its webinars, such as the University President's Forum webinar that we have today. AKEPT, under the Center for Leadership Sustainability, is looking forward to organizing more programs to disseminate leadership knowledge locally and globally. It is hoped that today's webinar will be a fruitful one for all, and I look forward to witnessing it. CLS provides the bridging between the academic world and the industries and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, the first of the University Presidents Forum series was successfully held on the 24th of August 2022 with the theme Future Leadership Higher Education, Leading Beyond the Pandemic, that focused on higher education leaders' visions and experiences to move forward beyond this pandemic. This AKEPT Global Series was then followed by the second webinar, which was held on the 5th of October 2022 with the theme Empowerment of Women in Higher Education, the Hand That Rocks the Cradle, that provided great insights into women's leadership in higher education across the world. Today, the last or the third series of the University Presidents Forum will provide us with discussions on how the pandemic has accelerated changes in internationalization and what are university strategies to move forward and remain relevant in the new world we are entering post-academic. We are honored to have with us three distinguished speakers, Professor Rocky S. Tuan, Professor Karen O'Brien, and Professor Mushtaq Al-Atabi, who will share with us their thoughts, insights, and best practices as university leaders from their respective esteemed institutions and how they have responded to the different challenges that are evolving out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that this forum will provide our participants with knowledge and insights related to internationalization of higher education institutions post-COVID-19 pandemic from a global perspective, leadership roles and strategies developed in each university to embrace the challenges in a post-pandemic world, as well as new ways of thinking in adapting to the new world for the future of higher education. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the welcome remark as well as the opening remark. Before we start the session, let's have a very quick group photo. So on that note, I would like to invite the moderator, the panelists, secretariats to switch on their cameras for a quick photo session. Right. Everybody's got their camera on, please. Okay, we just wait for a few seconds. Karen, if you can switch on a camera. Lovely. Okay, so Prof. Mushtaq, if you can switch on your camera.
Somehow it says unable to start video. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Just a second. Just a second. It's always a glitch here and there. Okay. Okay. Are we all good?
No, I have the same. I have the same problem.
Yeah, you have the same problem. Okay, just a second. Okay. Is Karen here with us? Okay, just a second, everyone. Hang on to your seats while we get everybody on board. Shall we take? Oh, brilliant. So the first take, 1, 2, 3. Another big smile, please, everyone. 1, 2, and 3. Last but not least, another big smile. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right, so let's get started rolling. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Professor Yvonne Lim, the Associate Vice Chancellor for Global Engagement, Universiti Malaya, to moderate this session. Over to you, Prof. Yvonne.
Thank you very much, Prof. Yong. It's indeed a pleasure to be in the same forum with you. So very good day, everybody. Welcome to the third series of our University Presidents Forum. I'm Yvonne. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor of Global Engagement at Universiti Malaya, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce our three distinguished panelists. So if I may start, let's start with Professor Karen O'Brien. Professor Karen O'Brien is the Vice Chancellor of Durham University, United Kingdom. She joined Durham University in January 2022 after leading the Humanities Division at the University of Oxford with great success, where she jointly are responsible for the financial oversight and I was told that she secured hundreds of millions for the University of Oxford. She was in charge of research strategy and equalities and access priorities of the university. Now, at the University of Oxford, she led the way in establishing masters and doctoral scholarships for Black and other ethnic minority students. A committed internationalist, Karen played a key role in the University of Oxford's global partnerships, including with the CNRS, which is the French National Center for Scientific Research, the Humboldt and Free Universities of Berlin and Universities of the Global South. Professor Karen has held a number of national and international leadership roles, including serving on the international jury of the Institut Universités de France and as chair of the Russell Group Pro-Vice Chancellors for Teaching and Learning, a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts and honorary fellow of Peterhouse, University of Cambridge, and of St. Cross College, University of Oxford. She has published widely on the literature and intellectual history of the Enlightenment. The Karen is the trustee of Charlton House and was until recently a member of the editorial board of The Conversation. Moving on to the second panelist, we have Professor Rocky Tuan, who is the Vice Chancellor and President. The Lee Kuo Wei and Lee Yik Hoi Lun Professor of Tissue Engineering and Regenerative Medicine at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Professor Rocky Tuan is a world-renowned biomedical scientist specializing in stem cell science and regenerative medicine. He has authored more than 550 research publications. He was elected to the fellowships of the National Academy of Inventors, the Chinese Association of Inventions, the American Association of Anatomists, the Orthopedic Research Society, and the Tissue Engineering and Regenerative Medicine International Society for his accomplishments in innovation and translation research that brings significant impact to society. And prior to joining CUHK in 2016 as a distinguished visiting professor and founding director of the Institute for Tissue Engineering and Regenerative Medicine, he was a distinguished professor of orthopedic surgery and director of the Center for Cellular and Molecular Engineering in the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. And lastly, we have Professor Mushtaq Al-Atabi, who is the Provost and Chief Executive Officer of the Heriot Ward University, Malaysia. Professor Mushtaq has published 3 books, Shoot the Boss, Think Like an Engineer, and Driving Performance, and he has numerous research publications, awards, and honors. Professor Al-Atabi is an innovative educator who believes that the main goal of education is to mobilize an individual's purpose into a positive impact on the world. He pioneered the purpose-led education and a methodology called CDIO, which is conceive, design, implement, and operate, and delivered the first MOOC, or the Massive Open Online Course, in Malaysia. So Professor Al-Atabi is a highly sought after keynote speaker and trainer, and his impact statement reads, "I am a storyteller. My purpose is to inspire others to tell more empowering stories about themselves and the world we live in." So these are the biodata of our 3 panelists, and you can see that they're from different regions and coming from different backgrounds. So I'm really excited to be in this forum and to be moderating the session. So without further ado, if I may invite Professor Karen, we'll start with you. We want to know a little bit about strategy for 2023 and beyond. Now, we understand that the University of Durham launched a university strategy document for 2017 to 2027, which was developed based on 3 pillars, which are research, education, and the wider student experience. Your aspiration is to lead the university globally and built on your reputation for excellence in research and education. We can see your internationalization initiatives cutting across the three pillars. But as we struggle through the challenges during the past few years, such as Brexit, the global pandemic, economic downturn, most higher education institutions have shifted from emergency response to long-term adaptation and strategically planning to be more resilient. So I have two questions for you, which are somewhat related. Now, what are the changes in your strategy framework to keep it relevant to adapt to the current challenges? That's the first. And for university leaders out there who are currently working on the new internationalization strategic plan, what is your message to them to ensure that the strategic document has a sustainable future? So Prof. Karen, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Lehman, and my thanks to the University of Malaya, AKEPT, and the Ministry of Higher Education for inviting me. It's a real privilege to be able to join this forum. Thank you so much. As you rightly say, my university adopted a university strategy about 6 years ago, and then since then things have changed enormously in the world, and particularly in my part of the world in Europe, because we've had Brexit, which has enormous implications for our internationalization strategy, COVID, and now double-digit inflation. So we are in the middle of what seems to me a very good institutional conversation with our staff and with our students about how we refresh our strategy, retain the things that were strong and excellent about the strategy, but also recognize that we've got to do a lot of adapting and long-term thinking as we look forward to the future. Like a lot of higher education institutions in the United Kingdom, we are facing quite serious financial sustainability challenges. A lot of that's to do with inflation, but some of that's to do with the funding model that we currently have in the UK. Nevertheless, I think what we have learned from the experience of the last few years and where we're focusing our efforts is that our staff and our students want us and expect us to have a really intensified sense of what the social purpose of universities really is. We've always had that. We're charities. We have a mission to educate students and to do research that changes the world. But a clearer articulation of the social benefit that universities bring is absolutely where we are centering our strategy. And in particular, thinking about how that benefit is simultaneously local, because we're based in a region of the UK that is post-industrial in many respects and somewhat impoverished, but also has burgeoning new industries and new opportunities. And we work very closely with our industrial and business partners in the region, simultaneously local, but also very importantly, global and informed by global partnerships. So we're asking ourselves, how do we bring those things together? How do we partner? How do we collaborate? And how do we really strengthen the skills and the education we provide for our students and the research opportunities that we provide for our staff? I think another really big thing about strategy coming out of COVID, and I know all universities are thinking about this, is the staff themselves. It was, for all of us in universities, but obviously in every other sector as well, a really, really challenging time. I think it's led us to ask us quite fundamental questions about how we work, how we teach, how we manage our time, how we develop our careers, how we don't overburden ourselves, how we remain effective and not exhausted, and how we focus on the things that really matter. So part of that institutional conversation that we're having is definitely about ways of working and workload, and definitely about creating a more equal, inclusive and embracing workplace for our staff, all of our staff, whether professional staff or academic staff. So it's partly about also a staffing strategy. So we you know, our core focus will always be education and research, but we have these big transversal themes around equality, diversity and inclusion, around financial sustainability, and around internationalization. And I think we have understood, because COVID really taught us this, just how important international research collaboration is in solving the problems of the world and in sharing our ideas and our aspirations.
Thank you so much, Prof. Karen. It's indeed very enlightening. And I think COVID has really made us rethink a lot of things, many things that we have taken for granted. And it's nice to also know about, that the university is also very concerned about looking into what really matters. Like you said, the comfort of working, how we are re-strategizing all this, and for better output, perhaps looking into consideration of good health and prosperity at the same time. So thank you so much. Now, if I may, I have another burning question to ask you as well. And this is something to do with collaboration with universities in Asia. Now, we all agree that the success of all institutes of higher education is built on a spirit of collaboration with both local and international partners. As you have mentioned, collaboration.
Professor Lim, I'm losing the sound a little bit. I do apologize, but could you just repeat your question? Sorry, I'm not hearing that.
Yeah, sure. Are you able to hear me now?
I am, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, that's better.
No worries. So the next question is about collaborating with universities, especially in Asia region. So we all agree, and as you have mentioned before as well, the success of all institutes of higher education is built on with both local and international partners, where there is a free flow of ideas with close working partners. Yeah, is my voice okay?
It is now, yes.
Okay, all right. So on building international connections with universities in Asia, one leading university in UK has described that UK and Asia universities collaborations is key to global prosperity, where the Asian region remains to be seen as one of the fast-paced and vital markets for UK universities. So from your viewpoint, what are the key areas of potential collaboration in this region? And what are the considerations that you'll be making for this to work effectively?
Thank you. Well, I absolutely agree that Anglo-Asian collaborations are really, really important for universities in the UK and important for universities globally. And I've only been in my position for a year, but I made it a very high priority to visit the region, to visit Singapore and Japan very recently. I had, as you probably know, planned to come to the University of Malaya, but I got COVID, which is very relevant to the discussion that we've just had. So I will plan to make another visit. But we have been, as a university, investing in staff on the ground in the region, and we will continue to make collaboration a very key focus. We also have a fantastic body of alumni in all of the countries in the region, certainly in Malaysia and in Indonesia, in Japan and Singapore, and those alumni are often highly effective, highly successful people in their area. They're wonderful experts on the ground. They inform us about what their employees, their staff are looking for, and they keep us extremely well connected. So for us, that's an absolutely key collaborative interface. As you rightly say, some of that is about transnational education, and some of that is about getting the message out there that we would be very interested in welcoming students to the region, from the region to the University of Durham. And we do indeed have many students from the region studying subjects like law, like engineering, like accountancy. We have a very international student body. Over a third of our students come from outside of the UK, and we really plan to increase that number and increase that variety. Allied to that is clearly the sense that research collaborations and partnerships are going to be very, very important for the future and are already extremely important for us. So just to give you some examples, Durham University is very, very strong in global sustainability and sustainability studies, environmental sustainability, including areas like the legal framework around environmental sustainability. So when I was in Singapore just a few weeks ago, we recently signed an MOU with the National University of Singapore Centre for International Law, and we're really thinking globally about ways in which legal frameworks and environmental sustainability work together. We think very much in our business school about how accountancy is also very relevant to global accountability in terms of global warming and global sustainability. Also, I'm a humanities scholar, as you mentioned. We have a variety of backgrounds among our university presidents here. And I think one of the very exciting things that we do is we collaborate in the way in which we look at preserve and celebrate global cultural heritage. So we work with archaeologists in Singapore. We have a partnership with the National Museum of Japanese History, and those transnational dialogues around global heritage, how important it is as part of a kind of, I think, a global human rights issue that you know, conserving culture is all about conserving people's languages, traditions, ideas, is very important to us at Durham University. And talking about historical legacies, clearly, you know, as a post-imperial country that's had those relationships in the region, that's an interesting and important area of reflection for us in the UK. But it's also, I think, a great opportunity to rethink our histories going forward together, and that's something I particularly welcome. So there are many, many ways in which we need to collaborate and partner with universities in the region. We obviously collaborate strongly in China. We have an outstanding physics department that has a center for computational cosmology, and we have many collaborations, for example, with the University of Nanjing around astronomy and physics in that particular area. And those collaborations are greatly strengthened by the expertise that we source outside of the UK. So there are many reasons to spend time in Asia. It is partly about getting the message out there that we would love students to consider studying in Durham, but also equally importantly, we really want our Durham students to have an international mobility experience. And, you know, Professor Twan, some of our students come to your university, and we strongly encourage and we need to reinforce in the post-COVID era those global mobility opportunities for students. Those can be about actually moving across geographical spaces, but as we've learned through COVID, we can do some of that collaboration online, and we can foster those global issues, conversations, and those transnational dialogues in online spaces for students as well.
Wonderful. You know, Prof. Karen, we are also, I think both our universities are also planning to organize a traveling museum that will travel to different parts. Yeah, and that's very exciting. Yeah. Thank you very much for your insight.
Chancellor in common.
Yes, yes. So thank you so much. Now I'll just move on to Prof. Rocky, and I'll get back to you later. So Prof. Rocky Twan, it's so nice to meet you again after many years. Because of the pandemic, we couldn't travel. Now, my question to you is about changing the trajectory of internationalization.
Right.
So as we enter the era of post-COVID-19 towards endemicity, the year 2023 marks a significant change of landscape, especially in the higher education. So the opening of borders and freedom of movements enhance the scope of internationalization in higher education by reviving and bringing back the international students and staff, mobility of resources, and rejuvenating the international collaboration with potential partners. So lessons learned through the era of COVID-19 has shifted the whole new paradigm in internationalization, especially in higher education. May I pick your brains on this, and what's your view on this, you know, real paradigm shift, and how have you been coping with it?
Yeah, I think thanks for the Yvonne for the very good question here. For sure, there's a major paradigm shift, and the paradigm shift is largely, at least initially, a technological one, and that is with COVID, we couldn't see each other. We were all socially distanced. Now, this is, I think, for humanity, a pretty traumatic experience. So we come up with words like, oh, virtual education. Virtual education means you can't see your teacher, basically. So it's not a very good form of education initially. However, with technology, we are able to overcome many of these things. As you all know, not going to class and yet getting the material, that's been done throughout history. In the old days, it would be, you know, somebody's taking a piece of a parchment paper and write down something or something like that. In my days as a student, it would be, I actually was a pretty good student, but if I was not able to attend class, you know, I would ask my friends to bring a cassette tape recorder, and then I would listen to it. That's the beginning of virtual education. But I actually believe that there are virtues in virtual. And so the technology actually developed really, really fast during the last couple of years. CUHK was very proactive in this, and in fact was one of the world's first to fully adopt online teaching and learning, also because we got hit first. That's why we were also first. And we're first because we work very fast, but also because we got hit by the virus very early on as well. Now, so we did pretty well. So that's teaching and education at our campus. But your question is actually about internationalization. So I would like to present two things. One is that we were able to actually leverage the technological skills that we have to promote, to develop, actually to initiate a virtual student exchange program. As you know, the pandemic didn't just stop people from going to class. It also did stop people from going on exchange programs, which is a very, very important part of internationalization, meaning our students get to see different cultures, and develop different friendships, circles, and so on and so forth. So we developed this virtual student exchange program actually very early on, started in the summer and actually rolled it out in August of 2020, right? So 2.5 years ago. And so far we've already done, 8 study periods already. And we have now over 900 online academic courses. We, of course, as a member of the Association of Pacific Rim University, we leverage the APRU's network as well. So 32 APRU member universities are now participating in this. We have already about 5,000 students who have enrolled. And now one of the unique features of our virtual student exchange program, remember there's an E at the end, which is exchange. You don't just if you just simply take a class, that's not exchange. That's just taking an online course. The exchange means that we need to have the cultural components built in. So we actually put in these co-curricular activities that have cultural components, as well as bringing together the quote unquote the virtually exchanged student with the local student social network. So they actually have new friends, right? So these two are very important components that are tied to our courses. So we're very proud of this. This virtual student exchange program actually has the Association of Commonwealth Universities has essentially not copied, but they have taken a lot of our practices and into the brand new ACU virtual exchange program as well. Now, with that, that's just education, or education as in is internationalizing it. The other thing is that one of the things we learned from the pandemic is, of course, that the world is actually very small village. What happens a couple doors down will affect us. The virus doesn't care about oceans and borders and so on and so forth. It is a village. The world is a village, and therefore we must work together to sustain this planet. And so we use the virtual education format to take on a couple of things. We take on the SDGs. CUHK is actually the host of the Sustainable Development Solution Network Hong Kong chapter. And so we have a lot of firepower in that sense. So we did a couple of things. I just named two. One is global citizenship. That's actually SDG 4 and is actually with University of Malaya, and was launched in August 22 and led by Chulalongkorn University. And I already mentioned University of Malaya. The others are Kyushu University, Shanghai Jiao Tong University, and Simon Fraser. So the program puts the students from the APRU member universities with mentors and practitioners worldwide to learn about SDGs and share SDG practices in diverse cultural and social contexts. Another one is the Future 17, which is an SDG challenge program. And that is a consortium which was founded by the University of Exeter and supported by the QS, and to offer virtual learning opportunities. So it started in the spring semester of 2021-2022. So this multidisciplinary, multi-institutional virtual program allows the students to develop skills to tackle global challenges and create innovative solutions to real-world issues. The key here is that they get to work with international peers, as well as in representatives of businesses, charities, governments, NGOs who are associated with the SDGs. So the partners are CUHK here in Hong Kong, Exeter in UK, Stellenbosch in South Africa, and the University of Auckland in New Zealand. So again, this really pushes that internationalization, the idea of internationalization, which is a wonderful idea, but got stuck or whammed by the pandemic. But we are now using technological skills to climb over those hurdles and maintain the momentum. I don't want to say too much about research and webinars because we're already doing a webinar. So that's already a prime example how we can use technology to actually cut down carbon footprint, because we didn't have to travel to Malaysia and so on and so forth. So all those things I think everybody's very familiar with. So I like to just advocate that we got knocked down, but we will get back up and use technological skills to continue this wonderful idea of internationalization, because the world is indeed a very small village, and we are all villagers. Villagers survive because they appreciate each other, they accept each other, they will give things freely to your neighbor, and you have a kinship, and you have a common identity. I hope that the technological skills will continue to enable that kind of endeavor.
Thank you so much, Prof. Rocky. I've always been impressed with your positivity. And I think that there were many analogies when we were having the pandemic. You know, I like your idea of us being in a small village, that everyone is interconnected. I remember an analogy of a ship, you know, as we're going through the storm, that everyone was perhaps in their little cabins, but we were experiencing the same thing. And yeah, there are so much opportunities in adversities as well. And I think this is where we have learned is as fast forward in leveraging technology. And it's given so much opportunity to students and staff as well to be able to embrace internationalization in the virtual sense. Just wanted to I'm just wondering, would you think, as our borders are open now and there are more confidence to travel, to meet each other, do you think eventually the face-to-face again will sort of supersede the virtual classrooms and activities that we are having? Or you think we will be working in tandem, that both aspects of this is very important, that we complement that both approaches?
Yeah, I would say the latter. I think this original Plan B is actually Plan A1. With metaverse and all these things, we are now a whole lot more accepting of an alternative universe of some sort. So I think there's originally, of course, unfamiliarity with the technology, but now I think we're all Zooming, we are all WhatsApping and WeChatting, whatever. So I think people have already. I look at this almost like a another version of industrial
revolution,
where we for some reason because we got hit by this tsunami, so we got washed up. But then, as a result, we actually went over this hurdle that originally it would take a long time to climb over. So, so I would think that the latter possibility, and I think particularly young people, the next generation, they are already very tech savvy, and this has just accelerated the whole process.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this whole experience for us, we have generally recovered quite fast. We sort of rebound comparatively from other global tragedies, and I think this gives a sense of confidence. I think moving forward, for people to, like you said, that perhaps the unknown is not too scary now. We have gone through something quite traumatic. Yeah. Now, let me move on to my second question.
Okay.
So in your recent address in the World Academic Summit in late October 2022, you talked about partnerships between government, industries, and NGO to create synergies for academics to work hand in hand for societal impact. Now, yet the global crisis since 2020, due to global health, climate change, we have global economy continues to grapple us. And how do we make the most of our collaborations to step up with a clear roadmap, as there is so much at stake and we may be running out of time to tackle these issues? Your take on this, Prof. John?
Yeah, that is for sure a somewhat dangerous scene in front of us. However, I think in parallel, we in the university world, again, all of us are in the university world here, and I think for the longest time, the psychology is publish or perish. I think that's no longer, I mean, it's slowly but surely, or maybe even rapidly disappearing. I think the new mindset is actually collaborate or crumble. And the reason I say this is that even in Hong Kong, many of the evaluations that the government is very good in evaluating, coming up with all kinds of schemes to evaluate the performance by every sector. In the education sector, our evaluation scheme has evolved. There are all these things like impact, and impact means how you impact somebody else, not just yourself. Okay, so that means if you collaborate, your impact will be higher, almost automatically. So I think it's happening all over the world, not just in Hong Kong. So I think the transnational collaboration, this idea has already sprouted, and it's growing very fast. And now it's easy to say we collaborate and so on and so forth, but you can't collaborate unless you have some common ground that you agree on, right? So this is not easy. And so the example I'm going to give is not an exclusive one, but I think it's a good one. I am very grateful that the United Nations actually came up with the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. 17 goals, cover a lot of things. So it is now fairly straightforward, actually, for us academics to say, there's somebody in Durham, somebody in University of Malaya, wherever, hey, we actually work on, SDG, whatever. Well, so now these are just portals, right? We don't have to go through them, but if we can choose to go through it, it's much easier now. So I already can see, and of course, to some extent, these ranking agencies are also putting up all these fancy pathways of how universities can get better ranking, or not better ranking, can be ranked. And as a result, it also indirectly also promotes this collaboration by creating common ground. So with that, I think people can disagree on the roadmap, but if the destination is the same, then there is collaboration going on. So I think this is a very powerful group of objectives to focus our collaboration over the coming decades in what is otherwise, as you said, a sort of fractured, polarized, and challenging environment. So I would say, hang on to the SDGs. They don't cover everything, but they cover a lot. So, that's my comment.
Thank you so much, Prof. Rocky. Now I'll get back to you a while more. Let me move on to Prof. Mustaq. Yeah. So Prof. Mustaq Al-Atabi, I'd like to ask you about transnational education. I think we have spoken a number of times, and our panelists has also mentioned this in post-pandemic. So pioneering in research in education, Harriet Ward University is no stranger in the area of internationalization, especially in higher education, by delivering transnational education with campuses in Dubai and Malaysia. So the post-pandemic has reported that there is a shift from a high-cost study destination to a more affordable institution domestically. That means there is a higher demand for NTE, and there is a notable growth in students' number. Can you share with us if this is true for Harriet Ward University, and what are the opportunities and key areas you are looking at to ensure that you remain a major player in the overseas market? Over to you, Prof. Mustaq.
Thank you very much, Prof. Lehman. Again, thank you for the invitation. Yes, as you mentioned, Harriet Ward is quite diversified in terms of its global presence. And we see this as a hedge against many of the risks that are faced by many universities. For some of you who have seen the latest information shared by Times Higher Education, Harriet Ward is among one of the top 10 universities in the UK in terms of having students who are outside the UE, with like 38% of our fee income comes from students from outside the UE and the UK. So we see this as I said, as a source of resilience because we actually offer our courses at different price points. In Malaysia, in Dubai, and in the UK. Interestingly, to your points, and you talked about the cost, our highest cost and highest cost of living is in Dubai. But last year, we had our largest intake in Dubai ever, you know, so the demand, I think, is there. And I believe that at the end of the day, it's about quality, it's about employability, is about relevance, is about teaching and learning. We also see our global presence as a source of diversity in terms of innovation. So, for example, there are some innovative approaches to learning and teaching that started in Malaysia, and now they are being rolled out throughout the world. For example, we see that education primarily has the role of helping our young people to discover themselves, learn about their purpose, build some plans to mobilize that purpose into real impact on the world. And maybe secondarily is about knowledge and skills. And because of that, we started this in Malaysia 5 years ago. Every one of our students and every one of our staff has to start their journey with us with articulating an impact statement. They go through a 4-week process to actually write an impact statement. You read, if you recall, in the beginning, my own impact statement. So every one of our students has that clarity of purpose. Only then, you know, they go and do their research. So in August last year, the university executive made a decision that by 2025, every one of our global community will have an impact statement. So that's an example of an innovation that started in Malaysia and went on to the rest of the university. We also feel that, you know, after the pandemic, we feel that we are able to support our students globally because of that presence that we have in different parts of the world. Actually, we looked at our, the opening hours, and we are almost able to support our students for 18 to 20 hours of the day, because by the time we are closed, the UK is open, and there is Dubai as well, and that makes us very versatile in that sense. The other element, which is while it may not be learning and teaching related, but I think it's also very important, which is about research, and the fact that we have that presence in different environments, environmental wise and socioeconomic wise. We could actually test a variety of solutions from a research point of view in a European environment, in a Middle Eastern environment, in an Asian environment. And we believe that this will make our approach to addressing the grand challenges of our life very, very unique. We believe that remaining agile and flexible is very important for us as an organization. So controlling cost, doing things in different parts of the world where they make more sort of expenditure or cost sense. So there are things that you could do them maybe cheaper here, or you could do them cheaper in another part of our university. We need to continue to leverage that. And our latest approach to all of that is we've just actually started last year what we call the Heriot-Watt Global College, which is a global foundation whereby students from anywhere in the world, they could come and take a one-year program, and they could be fed into any of our university program. So indeed, it remains important. We believe that the students are interested in going to global universities of high quality universities that prepares them for employability, prepares them for life. But the challenges that we face are real. The geopolitical challenges are very real. The environmental, the economic challenges are very real, and that's why the more versatile, diversified, agile we are, the better.
Thank you so much, Prof. Mushtaq. I would also like to pick your brains on higher education outlook in Malaysia, operating a university in our country. Now, in December 2022, the newly appointed Minister of Higher Education announced efforts to empower institutions of higher education in making sure that Malaysia is a talent and knowledge hub, especially for this region. Now, from your perspective, as a leader in the private higher education institution in Malaysia, what are the key areas that should be focused on in making our institutions in Malaysia a hub for higher education?
Thank you very much, Prof. Lim. This is a very, very interesting, very important question as well. And I just wanted to say first, we welcome everything that the minister has been saying thus far. We see all his comments are very, very encouraging. As you know, Malaysia has around 1 million students in higher education. Half of them are with public universities like, Universiti Malaya, and the other half are at the private higher education. The private higher education, if I may speak more about that, because I'm, anchored in it a little bit more. Its value to the economy, to the Malaysian economy prior to the pandemic was around 30 billion ringgit a year. So this is particularly the value that we get from international students and so on. And Malaysia has always been having that aspiration of being a hub, a higher education hub. This has been the aspiration actually for maybe more than 15 years, if not even more than that. And the challenge we are facing now is, first, we are unable to, because of the competition, to retain even our own talent, let alone being a hub that attracts talent from outside the country. So this is really, really very challenging, and many of the challenges are very structural. So, for example, we struggle here in Malaysia with the starting pay of fresh graduates, and that makes it very attractive for example, for them to go and work in Singapore. And particularly now after the pandemic, there are companies that are actually allowing our own graduates to work from Malaysia and be paid maybe 2/3 of a Singaporean salary. That makes it quite challenging for us to attract students. The other bit that is making things quite challenging for us is the competition that we are having from other existing education hubs. So we all know that Australia, the UK are having now this post-graduation visa where students could stay for 2 years, if not more, and seek employability. So these are things that we do not have in Malaysia, and that will make it a little bit more difficult for us to attract students to get into Malaysia and make Malaysia achieve really its not only aspiration but its potential, because Malaysia is a very good country in terms of command of English, in terms of cost of living. There are so many things that's going our way, and we should be really a true education hub and also talent and development hub. Saying so, we have been engaged with the new administration, with the new minister. Probably you know, Prof, I'm also the chairman of the Vice Chancellor's Council for Private Universities, and we are going to meet the minister on the 19th of January, and we are bringing a number of issues and opportunities to be discussed with him. So the outlook in my view is we have great fundamentals. Malaysia has a very diverse public, private, and international higher education here. We have 10 international universities, as you know. Harriet Watt is one of them. We have Australian universities, UK universities, Chinese universities, Indian universities over here. Huge diversity. We have a very competitive cost of living, and I think there are some challenges with our immigration policies when it comes to dealing with international students, and these are things that we are actively bringing with the new administration, and we believe that with some progressive policies we should be able to be in very good place.
Thank you very much for your input, Prof. Rishad. I do agree that we do have good fundamentals, a good quality, and the other factors that you've mentioned, but there are areas that we need to further improve. So thank you so much. Now, we have finished the first round, but we also have lots of questions from participants. So if I may, I'll just pick one. And this doesn't necessarily target it to any of the panelists, so feel free to answer this question. It's from an anonymous. So the question is, how do we manage to reconcile the fact that collaboration with industry, where both universities and industry partners have been adversely impacted by the pandemic? Also, universities not in the top rankings may be at a disadvantage and find it difficult where the playing field is dominated by top higher education institutions. So I'll open this to the panelists, and feel free to take this question. Prof. Karen, you raise your hand.
Yes. It's a very good question, because obviously industry is many things and collaborations have been impacted in a variety of ways. I think nevertheless there have been some very interesting opportunities that have come through from the online working that we've been discussing and the ways in which we are repositioning ourselves. And I think also in terms of our own research, bringing data science much more into the heart of everything that we do. So we have a fantastic collaboration with a very innovative fintech company that's based here in Durham. I think that collaboration was in some ways accelerated by the pandemic and the remote ways of working, and using really innovative fintech techniques to think about online banking and the online space. So there are some paradoxes around COVID. I think understanding online and tech possibilities in industry in some ways have been enhanced by the pandemic. In other respects, you know, we have, to give another Durham example, we work very closely with regional companies in renewable energy, and a lot of that was clearly very difficult during the COVID period, but we are really accelerating as we come out of the pandemic in terms of those collaborations. So it's a complicated picture, but it's a very, very important area for all of our universities to make those industrial collaborations valuable, employability opportunities for our students, research opportunities for our staff, and being a real powerhouse for economic growth in our region, but also globally.
Prof. Rocky, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I agree with Karen. It's a double-edged sword. For sure, there are industries that are severely affected. For example, tourism industry, hospitality industry, where nobody's traveling, not much is going to happen in terms of revenue. And in Hong Kong, I remember they came up with the idea of staycation. So they actually stay in a hotel and, you know, get treated like a princess, and then, you know, do the swimming in the swimming pool and go to the gym, whatever, watch some movies, whatever. So there are ways to get around it. And then for universities, same thing. Like, for example, I mentioned the tourism industry, our hospitality tourism program got hit pretty hard. No one wanted to major in it, obviously. But I think we ended up helping some of these hotels and whatnot to come up with ideas such as what I just said. So I think you can get around. And then Karen mentioned fintech, for example. I think the whole business community completely turned upside down. So a lot of data analytics has to be done. And so we, in fact, now instituted a major in data analytics, presented to be a double major for anybody who's in some other field, and they can also major in data analytics. So I think the difficulty with working with industry is there, but you're going to have different industry. For example, no one would have imagined that making some vaccine would be bring in dollars and pounds like there's no tomorrow. Well, it happened. So suddenly, I won't name the companies, and they are rolling in dough. And so these things suddenly happen. So if you do things related to it, then you got more collaborative opportunities. So the second part of the question was, how about I don't know, I don't remember the exact words, but maybe less research active universities deal with this. I would suggest, and I already suggested, and is implementing this in CUHK, is service-based learning for our students. Send our students, now that we can go out, to the communities and have them learn what the issues are. This is the greatest opportunity, because you have population all over the world. They all are dying to have attention, because no one paying attention to them for a long time, but not because they didn't want to, but they couldn't. They were suffocating for quite a long time. Send our students there. Give these communities human warmth. Teach so that the students also learn to be caring and socially responsible. I think that already is a huge enrichment that we didn't feel like we had to do a couple of years back. I think that's another opportunity that emerged out of this crisis.
I think the humanistic aspect of it, I think it has sort of really reminded us that so important that we have taken for granted all these years, like you said. Yeah. So Prof. Mushtaq, you raised your hand too.
Very quickly, I actually, talking about the collaboration between industry and university, I haven't spoken to any industry that did not tell me that they are really needing talent. I think even as universities, this is a war for talent. It's a global war. And I think this is the best opportunity for us to collaborate. So if we are both hit by the same thing, so we may as well join forces. I also wanted to comment on the issue of ranking. So this is really quite a controversial thing, the ranking, because no matter where you are in ranking, they'll be better the people who are higher ranked than you, unless you are, the top 10 or top 50 or whatever. So those who are in the 120, they're dying to get in the top 100. Those in the top 100, they were dying to go to the top 50 and displace someone there. And this is a reality. I mean, I'm not questioning it. And it's a self-fulfilling thing, because industry and even philanthropy, it gives money only to people who don't need it. You need to be up there having multi-billion pounds of endowment. Only then people will come and give you more money. So that's the reality. And I think the way around it maybe is, first of all, let's see what value we can add. What is the thing that you as a researcher or your department or the degree that you're offering has a unique thing to offer, and maybe collaborate with one of the highly ranked universities and use that as a vehicle to carry you through. And I believe there are actually, look at, for example, Heriot-Watt University. We are probably 300 something or 200 something in QS ranking and some other rankings. So we are not highly ranked. But if you look at, for example, our actuarial science or petroleum engineering, they are world class. So you could focus on the area of your strength and do something from there. So by induction, I think a lot can be done.
Thank you so much. And that reminds me of what Prof. Rocky says, collaborate or crumble. I prefer that to publish or perish. Yeah. And I suppose, at the end of the day, it's all about excellence and moving forward together, bringing more impact to community, and ranking will be the byproduct of the excellence that you are practicing. Yeah. So due to the interest of time, perhaps we'll take one more from the floor, from Karen Lai. Now, given the current constraints of government funding and recessionary pressures affecting projected funding, how might that affect internationalization programs of universities? The concern is that internationalization programs get seen as nice extras that get deprioritized sometimes due to financial constraints. Now, on a related note, this also affects students that might not be able to afford going to exchange programs. So, your thoughts on this? How do we then still continue this internationalization momentum despite these constraints? Yeah, Prof. Rocky.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a very good question. I actually think the opposite is true right now. And that's because of the technology. For example, our virtual student exchange program, it basically democratizes exchange program. Exchange program used to be, I got to get a plane ticket, I got to pay for expensive housing and buy new clothes, whatever. Well, the virtual student exchange program made it possible, certainly from our university's experience, for students who normally can't really go out more than a couple of weeks. They now can be on this program for a whole semester, maybe even a whole year long. Now, it's useless, or not useless. It's not very useful if it's just taking a course, as I said. Build in the cultural components. For example, we have in our courses, we have one where we have a virtual tour of all the restaurants in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is famous for good food. So that took a couple hours, a couple of episodes, but that introduces that student who is in South America who've never been to Hong Kong, and now ooh, I'm almost there. You know, I couldn't taste it, of course, but we'll come up with that technology one of these days very soon. And the other one is actually take them to our museum, our art museum, and took them through the explanation of a particular artifact. It's like a class of Chinese history that they wouldn't get normally. And so I think if we keep doing something like that, so that's the exchange part. Now, the other part about internationalization overall, meaning I fly to Durham to visit Karen flies to Singapore and whatever. Well, we would be creating a carbon footprint, actually. So we can use sometime. I cannot. I definitely will vouch for the value of face-to-face, okay? But there are things we can settle or figure it out by like something like this. So if we cut out some of the carbon footprint, I don't think it will compromise our internationalization. We do have to go visit, but we can cut it down actually. So I don't think the cost is another concern either. So that's my point of view.
Thank you so much, Rocky. Any other inputs? Prof. Karen.
And again, it's a really great question, and I agree with Professor Rocky to a very significant extent, but I also think, as someone who benefited from international student mobility when I was a student, there is something very powerful about sort of coping and immersing yourself, not only educationally, but actually also the restaurants, the socially getting to meet people, language learning, you know. It's particularly, I think, an issue for English language medium countries like my own, that it's very important that students cope in a different language. So I think we're never going to move entirely beyond the need for physical mobility. We're clearly going to have to reduce it in the interests of carbon footprint and in the interests of finances. But for many, many years, as everybody knows, I mean, we have this with CHUK and other universities. We agreed to waive fees as universities in order to facilitate international mobility. We have exchange agreements, so we have a kind of financial arrangement that does continue to make it attractive and possible for students to study abroad. We have to raise money for scholarships. We have to support students. In the UK, we do have a government scheme called the Turing Scheme, which there used to be a scheme which was very focused on the European Union. I very much welcome the fact that we have a government scheme that is focused on outward global student mobility for UK students. So it's going to be a mixed model. I think it's really important that we continue to find ways of widening access to global study opportunities, because I think they profoundly shape who people become in later life. I think they're really important in an earlier part of one's life, and I'm never going to change my view that that's part of learning. But we need to make that accessible for as many people as possible.
I just remember last week we welcomed a group of students from Australia, and they was just so excited because this was after 3 years. They were very tired because the night before they were traveling, but the adrenaline was so high, and that opportunity to be just in Malaysia was just tremendous. I was also thinking, if I may add, we are also looking for opportunities working with alumni to sponsors students to travel. And that's because in a Universiti Malaya context, many of our students are from the lower economic status, and experiences such as going abroad is really a golden opportunity. And we do have alumni that also had that experience when they were young, that this particular opportunity was a life-changing opportunity and experience. And so we are looking into programs that, we could actually sort of have a buddy system where an alumni is sort of paired with a student who's going abroad, and they could actually exchange experiences and be sort of that encourager. Because I think for some students, it could be a fearful step to just boarding an airplane. So yeah, I think there are various ways, and we need to be very creative and innovative about that, managing the financial constraints. We have another question here. In fact, we have quite a number of other questions, but I'll just pick and choose in the interest of time. So Prof. Karen, perhaps this is for you. The UK Access Management Federation Hong Kong Access Federation, the Australian Access Federation, and the Sifulan Malaysian Access Federation are among the 75 federation members of EduGain World Research and Education Interfederation. It provides a single solution to accessing and sharing online resources and services for education and research institutions in a trusted environment. So how do you foresee this having a big impact in internationalization and greater collaboration for Malaysian universities? Perhaps others could also take this question.
Yeah, I might need a bit of, I'm not so familiar with that, but I think the question is really about sharing online learning materials in a trusted environment. Like everybody else here, I went through a phase of developing MOOCs, and I'm wondering about the ways in which particularly more micro-credentials and shorter courses and different ways in which we could share learning in the various universities in which I work could be internationalized in that kind of way. I think all of that has gone globally a lot more slowly than many of us were expecting in terms of the particular audiences that we've been able to reach through those kinds of online learning opportunities, and the extent to which that there is an integrated platform for sharing. I would like to go back to something that Professor Rocky talked about, which is the fact that the SDGs, the 17 SDGs of the United Nations, provide us with, I agree, a really powerful single framework within which we can articulate goals and objectives. And I also think that framework would be a very good framework within which to say, here is how we share content, here are learnings that we share that are relevant to and support the global development of SDGs. And we've certainly been mapping our curricula, including our online materials, but also our face-to-face materials to SDGs. We're also seeing, going back to your point about rankings, we are seeing, and I quite welcome this, more focus on global rankings around SDGs and environmental and social impact. So let's make that also a framework for the ways in which we share online learning, and that I think could be really powerful. And I really agree with you, Professor Rocky. I think we've got a new international language for university purpose, goals, objectives, and a way of articulating areas for collaboration that is quite straightforward and quite powerful. And doing that in the online arena could be very interesting as well.
And the next question is probably it's about leveraging our networks, and perhaps this question will be Prof. Rocky and Prof. Mushtaq. Being a member of the BMCC, which is the British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce, as well as APRU, the Association of Pacific Rim Universities. We have had bilateral ties. It was very common to have bilateral ties between universities, and we now have many associations, global associations, higher education. Now, I think in the current context, it can't be business as usual. I think we need to leverage more on this global associations. So may I have your thoughts on this? How do we strategically leverage on our presence within this regional or global associations to achieve, or even to bring solutions to global problems?
Yeah, maybe I'll take this one first. The COHK is a proud member of the Association of the Pacific Rim University, APRU, which is probably known to most people. It's 61 leading universities that from the Americas, Asia, and Australasia. It was founded in 1997, actually by the US universities in the California coast. I currently serve as the vice chair of the steering committee, so I'm very, very much immersed in what APRU is doing. So the idea is to work on the entire Pacific Rim. So you got this big circle from all the way from New Zealand swinging to East Russia, and then to UBC, and then all of California, and then all the way down Mexico and down to Chile and Peru. So it's a very I think it's, if you were looking at for volcanoes, it will be a ring of fire, but it really, there's a lot of firepower in this group of universities. So because of this association, exactly, Yvonne, like you said, leveraging each other's strength. So first of all, we identify topics. We don't identify university, we identify topics: global health, sustainable cities and landscape, sustainable waste management, population aging, digital economy, biodiversity in the Pacific Ocean. These are things there's no major in this in your university. They are topics, they're grand challenges. So we use those things and we coalesce universities that have interest in this. And then we give the students as well as the researchers an opportunity to really sit down either virtually or in person to talk over these things. And so I just give you an example of one of our recent effort, which turned out to be quite successful. A year ago, Helen Clark, a former Prime Minister of New Zealand, who headed the global health effort in WHO, urged us to take up preparedness for the next pandemic as a topic of interest. And we did. So we formed this presidential working group, and we dealt with 3 topics. One was global collaboration and sharing of biomedical data. The other one is on social and cultural determinants of preparedness. And then finally on fake news and infodemics. Okay, so we did this, and we hooked up with AKEPT, which just met in Bangkok not long ago in November, I think. November, yes. I think it's November, a couple of months ago. Yes. And we put together an APEC University Leaders Forum, which is an official side conference, and to address those 3 topics, and brought together industry, academia, and the government, and also NGOs. And we talked about this and made it known to them that we are very serious about this. So I really think that all universities should belong to some type of alliance, particularly if the alliance is very active. And then together we put our heads together. I think we can get a lot of things done, because we all do things slightly differently from each other, but I think our end goals are all the same. So I would strongly suggest that alliances get up to speed and get things done.
Thank you very much, Prof. Rocky. A quick one for Prof. Mushtaq. You're the chair of the British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce. So how do we utilize this to propel the partnerships between Malaysia and UK? Yeah, so the BMCC, British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce, is quite an interesting trade association. So it has businesses, and it has also universities and colleges. So I think that will make us, first, we could work within the association itself in terms of providing opportunities for our students. But at the same time, because of our size and influence, a number of times the government reached out to us to seek our views, to seek our opinions. And at the same time, when there are businesses and universities coming from the UK, they do reach out to us. And currently, because I'm intersecting this with the Vice Chancellor's Council for Private Universities, so we want to focus for this year really on helping the country attract more international students. So in May this year, we are organizing a national roundtable. We would like to bring the immigration, the Ministry of Higher Education, the employers, and also the organizations to actually come up to suggest some solutions to achieve our potential. And there are also ways for us to help with with students funding, even including things related to travel and so on. So in a nutshell, that's what we are doing. Thank you so much. The discussion has been so interesting, and the many insightful thoughts, wisdom. We are getting to the tail end of this webinar. Now, what would be your last words? Now, what will be the priority areas for research education leaders to pay attention to in spearheading growth and development, and remain resilient as we accelerate in this next phase. So final thoughts from all of you.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, it's Karen.
Lady first.
Okay. It's a really difficult question, but I mean, the key area is how do we as universities contribute to sustainable growth? How do you referred, Professor Mushtaq, to the global war for talent, but actually how do we become part of the global pipeline for talent, research talent, talent among the next generation of students? How do we, through alliances and other means, collaborate to do all of that? But for me, it's all about sustainable growth.
Thank you very much, Prof. Karen. Anyone next?
I'll go next. So I have 2 points I want to make. One is a sort of I think dealing with the current crisis, and the second one is more philosophical. The first one is that has to do with fake news. Universities to some extent is the how should I say, the source of information and to some extent truth. But we're not doing a very good job, or we fail to protect truth. Let's put it this way. So and of course, there are many reasons. I think everybody knows the reasons already. But so how do we do this? So I have an idea. Is to treat fake news, misinformation, malinformation, disinformation as an infection, right? It's basically infectious disease. So if you use the medical approach, as we all know, one of the approaches, very useful, is develop a vaccine against infection. So what is a vaccine? A vaccine is basically something that looks like the pathogen, but it's harmless. And so you get used to it, you train against this, and now when the real thing comes, you can beat it up. And so I would suggest that in our curriculum, we really need to build in such things that look like truth, but it's actually fake news, and we teach our students. Now, Finland has done a very good job. I have been reading about what they do. The fight against fake news starts from primary school. So that's number one. The second one is philosophical. That is that I think at this moment in human history, peace can no longer be taken for granted. We're in deep trouble. Humanity is in deep trouble. The COVID-19 is just a way to peel off the veil, the cover, and open up the can of worms. It turns out, protectionism, tribalism, all this stuff, finger pointing, is all there, right? It's so how do we? I think we have a moral obligation, university, a moral obligation. Again, I try to think what's the problem? What's the deep down problem with the lack of peace or peace falling apart? It's because we don't accept diverse views or actions. So I think at the end of the day, diversity and inclusiveness should be one of our major action in our curriculum. We have a responsibility. The 18, 22-year-old in our universities are our next generation. So I don't have a solution. I'm just saying that we need to think about this, because peace is in a very perilous state. And if we don't have peace, everything else we do is not going to get anywhere. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. Prof. Mushtaq, last words from you.
Yes, thank you very much. This morning I was addressing the January intake, and we have students from Malaysia, we have some students from Scotland, and I talked to them about the ChatGPT. Probably you guys have heard about this engine. And I said, have you heard about it? Not everybody heard about it. I said, let me just demonstrate this for you. So I opened it and I told the machine to write me a speech to convince Scottish voters to vote for independence from the UK using Winston Churchill style. And the thing started writing. The Scottish student said, I almost want to vote to leave the UK because of this speech. So I think what I'm trying to say here is, in a time where the AI is becoming so powerful. I think I agree with everything that my colleagues have said. Where is the truth? How can we maintain it? But ultimately, this is actually something that is shining the light on the value that we can add as human beings. So I told my students, if I were to leave you with one thing, you have to know your purpose. You have to be able to articulate your purpose. You have to be able to hold on to this in times of difficulty, in times of, in good times when you apply for a job, because ultimately anything that can be done by a machine will be done by a machine. So what would be the value, the human value? It would be the creativity that only you can bring to this, so that your nuances, your idiosyncrasies and so on become so important, become so valuable, and that would be ultimately the value that we will bring to anything. So I think if I were to leave us with one word, is know your purpose, because that is, through it, this will be the value that we will be bringing to this to life.
I must say, great minds think alike. And I think there's so much synergy here. Each of you are just re-emphasizing what the other has spoken about. It has been a great pleasure having all three of you. I'm really honored to be here, and it has been an interesting discussion. I would like to thank the participants. My apologies, we couldn't take many of your questions. There are many here, but we'll try to also channel it to the panelists after this. And so thank you once again, Prof. Karen, Prof. Rocky, and Prof. Mushtaq for being together with me here today. And I'd like to pass it on over to Prof. Yong, the MC.
Thank you very much, Prof. Yvonne. Thank you all. Thank you to all the speakers for your insights and sharing sessions. So we have come to the end of this session. On that note, I would like to invite Mr. Asrul Isham Hamza, Director for Center for Leadership Sustainability, AKEPT, to deliver the closing remarks. So over to you, Mr. Azrul.
Thank you very much, Prof. Yong. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening here, a very good morning for you, Professor O'Brien. First and foremost, our honorable speakers, Professor Rocky Tuan, the VC of Chinese University of Hong Kong, Professor Karen O'Brien, the VC of Durham University from UK, Professor Mushtaq Tabi, the Provost and the CEO of Harriet Ward, University of Malaysia, our very able moderator, Prof. Yvonne, and not to forget our partner and the program director from Universiti Malaya, and also our MC. She holds a lot of portfolio there, Professor Yong Zulina, for this wonderful webinar that we have this afternoon. First and foremost, I would like to thank Universiti Malaya, or UM, for this collaboration with Higher Education Leadership Academy, or AKEPT, through our Center of Leadership Sustainability, for all the efforts gathering great speakers from across the globe, different time zone, I would rather say, to be with here this, can I say afternoon, Karen? Because we are here in late evening, actually, it is 5 o'clock here, 5:30 to be exact, on the topic of University President Forum, on the issues of reimagining internalization in higher education post-COVID-19. And a round of applause, I wish to call from all the participants. Let's give our speaker a big hand for all their sharing here. And not to forget our partners for being able to have the webinar a reality. As mentioned earlier by our director, Prof. Nasruddin, in his keynote or in his opening welcome remark, our center, the Center of Leadership, or in short CLS, is here to prepare suitable platform for leaders in higher education, especially in Malaysia, to be in touch with mega trends, current issues, and relevant issues that may relate to higher education directly or indirectly. So it is essential for our fellow academicians to be in touch on what is happening outside the academic world. Hence, our role in CLS and AKEPT is to bridge this gap. Ladies and gentlemen, I promise it won't take much time because technically everybody is rushing home here in Malaysia. But thank you for all the more than 200 participants who are here standing strong still since we start the program. Internalization changes the whole spectrum of higher education, beginning from getting international students enrollment. The internalization in higher education expanded its wings to establish education offices abroad. And we have also the introduced of Deputy Vice Chancellor of International Affairs. It starts from student, then start to see more important roles of internationalization in higher education. And this signifies the importance of internationalization as we're moving forwards to a borderless world of digitalization that is closing the gaps, especially in having international collaboration, right? What we have today is a very good example. We have Karen from UK. We have Rocky in Hong Kong. We have the rest here in Kuala Lumpur to be together in one frame during be it post-pandemic, but thanks to the pandemic, because it opens up the new opportunity for all of us. We also see that trends of higher education institute, especially well-known universities, started to deploy their campuses, satellite campuses abroad. This reflects a whole new paradigm internalization in higher education, merging education, cultures, expertise, and business entities. I know it may be a bit heavy on the investment side to establish satellite campuses in a foreign land, but through thorough cost-benefit analysis, it would be a very a possibility to do so. In fact, our Minister of Higher Education recently mentioned for all the public universities to explore these opportunities. I know it might not be a single-handedly possible for one university to do it abroad, but through blue ocean approach, probably few universities can join together and consider opening satellite campuses abroad. Worth it, but yet to be explored. My dear audience, as our speakers have mentioned and discussed for the past 1 hour plus, we can see that there are some accelerated changes in internalization, and what are the university strategies to move forward to ensure their relevancy in the world and as we enter the end of pandemic. I know because so there are some concern that the cases are spiking in some parts of the world, but I guess everyone is pretty much ready compared to the first wave before back in 2018. So I would like to pick up few points, probably 3 or 4 points that have been mentioned by all our speakers today. Number one is about collaboration on the area of research partnership programs between the industries, the government, and so it is through internalization, it can expand, not only limited to the domestic strength and expertise, but it also can further enhance the collaboration via internalization. And number two, it is regarding leveraging technological advancements, skill set to further improve internalization. As we can see, we are three corners of the world today, being together, and in other perspective, we also have other experience by having speakers and also experts from all over the globe to be together in one forum. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, as the organizer of the program, we hope the knowledge sharing session today by our experts on their insights, strategies, as leaders of respective institutions, will be a valuable experience and for us to treasure. AKEPT is looking forward to organize more programs with potential partners, including in the future. And before we depart, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you to all the speakers, organizers, participants, for all the hard work and also making this webinar successful today. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Azrul. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being with us until the very end. So before we end, let's continue everyone to reimagine internationalization. But this time around, imagine with your partners, collaborate with your partners. I'm going to pick the word from Rocket One. We collaborate, otherwise we crumble. On that note, thank you so much. I wish you all a pleasant day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Happy New Year.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, Happy New Year too. Yeah.
Bye.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
And happy Chinese New Year in advance.
Oh, yes. Right. Coming
Thank you
up.
very much. Thank you very much.
Coming up.
Rocky. Happy Lunar New Year.
Good to see you again virtually. Karen, hope to visit you in my next trip to the UK.